But the breaking story that's coming in this evening, fighters of the Baloch Liberation Army have taken 182 hostages. An additional 8 Pakistani military personnel have been killed. Total number of casualties is now at 20. The Pakistan Army has rushed a relief train with reinforcements of Pakistani soldiers and doctors from the Quetta railway station to Sibi in Balochistan after the Jafar Express there was hijacked. This is being seen as an attempt being made by the Baluchi fighters, insurgents, to take on the Pakistani army. The Pakistani army clearly caught off guard there in Balochistan at the moment. That is a rapidly developing story as the Baluchi insurgents hijacked that train in Balochistan and are making various demands on the Pakistani army. The Baloch Liberation Army, the BLA, has claimed responsibility for what has happened. I'm joined at this moment. Sumaira Khan, a journalist based in Islamabad, has more details. Sumaira, what can you tell us about this incident? What more details do you have?
Thank you very much. And first of all, the terrorist organization that is banned across the globe and banned and proscribed by the UN authorities, obviously, officials, Baloch Liberation Army, they have once again launched this heinous attack on civilians. And the second thing that is very, what I believe as a journalist, that should go to your viewers as well, that the area we are talking about, it's Dhadar Bolan. And Bolan is a very tough terrain in Balochistan. Balochistan is overall, I'm pretty sure that you might be studying Balochistan before doing this program as well. It's the toughest terrains of Pakistan. It's the toughest terrain, even more than Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. I belong to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. I am a Pakhtun myself, but I must tell you one thing, that Balochistan in across Pakistan, if I term one place as the toughest terrain, filled with rugged mountains, is called Balochistan. And Balochistan...
But Sumaira, has the Pakistani army been caught off guard? You're saying it's a very tough terrain, but to hijack a train in this manner, has the Pakistani army been caught off guard?
You know, if you can't compare it being off guard or they have just tried to attack the Pakistani military and they were sleeping. It's not the case. If you are in a province that is half of the Pakistan, you can't stretch your 300,000 and 400,000 army personnel, reserve personnel, levies, khasadars, police and other security officials into such a huge province. I was studying a few clashes between Indian security forces and Manipur today even, but I can't term it that the clashes caught the security forces of India off guard, because it's not the term that defense analysts and defense reporters, they do this. No, it's not the case. Why I'm telling this, that the terrain is filled with rugged mountains and all these BLA terrorists, they go to take refuge in these mountains. They come back, they hit civilians, they hit security forces, and they run back towards
What is the latest though? What is the latest? What is the latest we know, Sumaira? What do we know at the moment?
Latest is you talked about that they have some they have taken hostages, they killed some military personnel. So let me clarify one thing, that the security personnel were not killed in the clashes. They are having still the sanitization operation is still going on in the area, and I'll give more details on the area if you have more time. The sanitization operation is still in process in the mountains of Bolan, Dadar, because they have to they took the whole passenger train off their track and they tried to hostage people. But let me tell you right now, a full-fledged military operation is in process. It's underway. And according to my information, even the airstrikes are being carried out on that typical patch of the mountains, because it's too tough to go in there. Obviously, if a military personnel is going there, he or she is in a uniform, he's a very visible enemy to you. But people there, they are hiding in the garb of civilians. So you cannot afford any sort of collateral damage if I'm speaking on behalf of a military personnel. So obviously they would avoid more collateral damages. So they are going into the mountainous terrain very carefully. But yes, there is one thing that can be called a security breach, that local police personnel, local levies personnel and whoever was obviously they were assigned with the basic security spectrum and paradigm. They need to be asked that why this train, because if they were planning to attack...
Because the language war is growing by the day. The DMK is hitting out every day at the Narendra Modi government, accusing it of Hindi imposition in the national education policy. Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan, replying to the parliament debate, dismissed the charge, saying the whole world is practicing multilingualism. But DMK MPs are now going across the country, raising the issue of language and delimitation. It's a full-blown war between the Stalin government and the centre. Take a look.
Sir, we are all known that this department...
The DMK takes the fight over the national education policy to Parliament. Party MPs came to the House dressed in black on Tuesday as they protested against what they call Hindi imposition. DMK reiterated its stand during a discussion on the NEP in Rajya Sabha.
The Tamil Nadu government has been urging the union government not to withhold the release of funds under the ongoing Samagra Shiksha scheme by linking it to the signing of MOU for the establishment of the PM Street schools. Furthermore, characterizing the Samagra Shiksha as merely an extension of the NEP 2020 is misleading and fails to recognize the state comprehensive educational framework and achievements. The delayed release of funds for Tamil Nadu education system is not just an administrative issue, sir. It is a matter of constitutional and federal importance.
The AIA-DMK echoed their rivals' views on NEP, but accused the DMK of trying to take political mileage ahead of the assembly polls next year.
I am for two language, but I am not doing that. But they are highlighting, putting black shirts, they are coming. What is the black shirt they are doing? That DMK, this government is making wrong, is persuading the people. The election is coming 2026. For that, they are making all the drama.
Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan's comment in Lok Sabha on Monday, which he withdrew later, also figured in the upper house.
तो आप मंत्री से इस्तीफा लो, देश को डिवाइड करने की बात करो, देश को तोड़ने की बात करो.
The BJP has consistently maintained that NEP doesn't impose Hindi.
आज विश्व क्या कह रहा है? इस बार 2024 को द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ मल्टीलिंगुअलिज्म ऑन ग्लोबल एजुकेशन के बारे में चर्चा हो रही है. 2023 में मल्टीलिंगुअलिज्म एंड जॉब मार्केट इन ईयू, ये चर्चा हो रही है. हम कहां फंसे हैं? क्या कोई अधिकार बात किसी के अधिकार हनने के लिए किसी को आहत करने के लिए भाषा का उपयोग करेंगे? कम से कम नरेंद्र मोदी जी की सरकार ये पाप न कभी किया है, न आने वाले दिनों में करेगा.
Meanwhile, a DMK team met former Odisha Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik to discuss delimitation, which will redraw Lok Sabha constituencies based on a new census. The DMK is also sending leaders to the other states in the coming days in an attempt to drum up support on language policy and delimitation. Bureau Report, India Today.
So let's get two sides of that big language war. Earlier I spoke to the DMK's P. Thiagarajan, and I also spoke to Tamil Sai Soundarajan of the BJP. Two articulate voices. Listen in. Okay, my first guest is the senior DMK minister in the Tamil Nadu government, Dr. P. Thiagarajan, better known as PTR, joins me. Appreciate your joining us, PTR. The charge against the Tamil Nadu government and the DMK is that you're using language and delimitation as political weapons to whip up an emotional hysteria in Tamil Nadu against the centre ahead of next year's Tamil Nadu elections. This is pure politics. You're playing with language and delimitation. Your response?
As far as the language is concerned, the Union Education Minister started the problem by declining to send over the funds that were already allocated in the budget. We didn't start this debate, we didn't start this issue. It started with the Union Education Minister refusing to release the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan funds. Second, delimitation has always been at the forefront of our mind. Obviously, as the clock ticks down to 2026, it gets more and more urgent. So there is a natural progression of that. Most importantly, I want to say, here is a party that has, for the last 12 years or so, used all kinds of emotional disturbances and creation of tensions as their political tool, and therefore is now projecting onto us. I studied cognitive psychology in my doctoral studies. I'm sure you've heard of the term projection. They are projecting onto us the behavior that they have themselves perfected, and we are actually talking about issues. Some of these issues are time-bound, and the second issue of language is thrust upon us by their behavior.
No, how is it thrust? No, 1 minute. 1 minute. PTR, how is language being thrust on you? I want to quote what the Education Minister said today in Parliament, Dharmendra Pradhan. He says National Education Policy 2020 is focused on different languages of India, be it Hindi, Tamil, Odia or Punjabi. All languages have equal importance. In Tamil Nadu, few are opposing it only because of politics. He says nothing is being thrust down Tamil Nadu's throat.
I say that the three-language formula itself is being thrust down our throats. You know, what pains me a lot about these debates is that nobody bothers to go and read history. Just let's remember, this is the third time that a national education policy has been put out since independence. There was one in 1968 that was actually passed as a bill in Parliament. There was one in 1986, and there was one in 2020. The 1968, the bill passed in Parliament calling for a three-language formula, and it said that the Hindi-speaking states and the non-Hindi-speaking states should be treated differently. The non-Hindi-speaking states should have local language, English and Hindi, and the Hindi-speaking states should have English, Hindi, and a modern southern language. This was the 1968 bill passed in Parliament. That was before the amendment that put education on the concurrent list. After the amendment that put education on the concurrent list, there was a 1986 policy. Yes. And the 1986 policy, if anybody bothers to go and read this, says very explicitly that nobody has been able to implement the three-language formula properly. Among other reasons, because the northern states have not been able to get qualified teachers to teach any languages other than Hindi and English. So here you have abject failure after abject failure, and this government for the first time weaponizes its decisions and its preferences extra-constitutionally and tells us we have to adopt the NEP in full, otherwise we don't get the funds allocated to us.
It's interesting. PTR,
we're fighting back.
No, you're saying they started the fight, you're fighting back. The truth of the matter is 1968 and 86, which you quoted, are both when there were Congress governments, your allies at the center, they tried to bring in the three-language formula, which you opposed, which led to language wars. Now the government is saying we are actually moving away from that and making everything optional. The government now says the new three-language formula does not make Hindi compulsory.
I think you should get your history correctly. We were not always in alliance with the Congress.
Your allies presently, your present allies.
During the emergency, we opposed the Congress. That's not the point. The point is not alliance or not. The point is Tamil Nadu has a very clear view. We are only going to teach two languages in our schools. We try to get the best outcomes we can. We think there's enough headroom for improvement when you have a two-language formula. We have produced spectacularly better results than the national average, certainly better results than any state that claims to be putting a three-language formula.
Please show me where, please show me, PTR, please show me in this document where is the word written that Hindi is mandatory, sir. Sir, with due regard, please show me where in this particular document is the word Hindi being made mandatory. It is also suggested that many of your ministers send their sons to private schools where they learn Hindi. But I want to know from you, where in the NEP is it being made mandatory? Where? Please show me the line.
Where the ministers send their sons and all is irrelevant to this debate. The point is very clear. There are only 34 ministers and 80 million people, 8 crore people. Stop making inane arguments about 34 people's children. The point is, anybody who wants to study any language in Tamil Nadu can study it anywhere. We are not banning it in any school. The Dakshin Bharat Hindi Prachar Sabha's headquarters is in Chennai, and they run classes for whoever wants to take it, and they're funded usually by the government. The government spends 100 times as much money in promoting and propagating Hindi than it does any other language. We have not taken one step against that. The point is, we will not teach 3 languages in school, period. That has been the case whether a Congress government proposed it or a BJP government proposed it. We will not teach 3 languages in school. Not only do we have good evidence that the 2-language formula works, we have zero evidence, absolutely none, that anybody has been able to do 3 languages properly. We will not do it, period.
Okay, what stops you though from keeping it optional? The fact is the students decide. You're someone who's been a worldly wise person. Allow students to choose and parents to choose. Who is the Tamil Nadu? I ask you again, where is the word mandatory? No, PTR, 1 minute. Let's get this clear. Where is the word mandatory used for Hindi?
You have millions of children in school. You're trying to run a system that is costing you tens of thousands of crores. You are not yet getting the best results you can. Especially after COVID, you've fallen behind dramatically. At least in Tamil Nadu, we run a remedial education. Whichever state has done it. Anybody can sit in Delhi and talk all kinds of nonsense. Do you know what it's going to take to actually expand the syllabus? How many tens of thousands of new teachers you'd have to get? How many tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of hours of training you'd have to give? How many? And that is if you're only going to use a standard 3rd language. You're going to have multiple 3rd languages. What are you talking about? The burden of education for those who are coming from underprivileged communities is already so high. We are not getting the results we want. It's easy for somebody to say 3 language, 5 language, 10 language. What does it take to actually implement it on the ground? Which state has been able to implement 2 language in the north in a reasonable way compared to us?
What is the fear?
Nobody who's actually operating on the ground can actually talk this nonsense.
What is the fear though? What is the fear? Is it a fear, as you said, of not having adequate teachers who can teach Hindi? What is the actual fear?
The 2-language formula, we are having a load of the curriculum that is not easy for everybody to adapt to. Equitable education, standard education is at the core of social justice and equal access. We have focused on that for more than 100 years. We want to continue to do that. We have zero evidence that going to 3 languages helps anything. It makes no sense to me that people who have much, much worse outcomes than Tamil Nadu come and tell us how we ought to do education. Right? Since you say history is irrelevant, you may feel that way. I try to learn from history. In 1986, in the 2nd NEP, after they say that the 1st NEP has failed to do 3 language, they actually put in the words that this decision of whether to do 3 language or not should be left to the state. This office moved to the concurrent list because they understand the logistics, the operational complexity, the training, the headroom that is required for you to move up to this syllabus is going to be so much higher that you can't dictate it from Delhi. Every government that has enough actual thought process understands this. It's only a dictator that says my way or the highway when they don't have to implement it. Tell me one BJP ruled state where they have implemented the 3-language formula properly and got decent results. Just tell me one.
As I said, I didn't ever say history is irrelevant. I, in fact, only pointed out that the Congress party was the one which was in power in 68 and 86. But forget that. Let's focus on today. The point is, how much of this, therefore, is the lack of trust between Chennai and Delhi? Whether it comes to delimitation, whether government is saying, Amit Shah is openly saying any change will be pro rata. No state will lose out, he claims. On education, the education minister is saying Tamil Nadu will not be forced to embrace Hindi. No school will be forced. Is this ultimately a trust deficit? Or is this, as I said at the outset, playing politics ahead of elections next year, creating a South versus North divide?
You can repeat the charge of the central government, union government, all you want. It means nothing. I'm telling you that our principles are most important to us. We will not adopt the 3-language formula. I'm telling you that the behavior of the union government, whether it comes to these kind of extra constitutional conditions thrust at the last minute on every centrally sponsored scheme. You must put the Prime Minister's photo on the card. You must do politics. You must call it this. You use 293D to restrain our borrowing. You use governors who are sitting on unanimously passed bills that have never been like in the history of the country. You have every way the weaponizing of the process of government, of governors, and of funds from the government of India. Then you ask us, oh, is there a trust deficit? What? We're sensitive human beings. We understand from the facts. We understand from the developments. I don't understand why you parrot this line from Delhi. His politics, his politics. Hey, think. We have experience. We have data. We have examples. The bills are sitting, tens of bills are sitting with the governor, but he's not bothered to sign. The Supreme Court has pulled him up. So what do you mean that you send a repassed bill again to the president? Where do you have the option for this? Why don't you remember all that? You've forgotten that. You say, are you playing politics? The election's a year away. Do I need to start playing politics now? I'm 4 years into a 5-year term. It's more than 14 months away. Surely if I'm smart, I'll play politics when the elections come, not now.
Do you fear, therefore, that if this debate carries on in this manner, both on language and delimitation, it's somewhere going to hit the federal character? Is this what this is about? States, you on this program said the center is behaving like a dictator. Somewhere is this the federal compact, in your view, being destroyed?
The federal compact has been systematically eroded and attacked from the first day this government took office in every possible way. I just told you a number of channels in which they've done it, from adding extra constitutional conditions to the release of money, to extra constitution using loopholes to limit borrowing of the state, to not passing bills that are unanimously approved by an elected legislature across all parties in the House. What more evidence do you want that the federal character of this country has been systematically attacked for the last 12 years of this government, 11 years of this government? Why should we not now have to worry about it? We have evidence, we have hard data, we have experience. So we say it is going down only one path. It is great centralization. And I keep telling you again and again, the exact processes and the exact steps that the current Prime Minister attacked and dismantled when he was Chief Minister of Gujarat, they are doing that and more right now. So his approach has changed when he was the State Chief Minister and when he was the Prime Minister. Our position has stayed the same. We are a regional party. We have always stood for states' rights. We have always stood for federalism. And we are not going to dilute the children being educated properly because our results tell us we are on the right path.
I'm going to ask you, therefore, in conclusion, do you see a resolution? At the moment, it seems that M.K. Stalin, the Chief Minister, is trying to garner support from the southern states, from regional parties, both on the language issue and delimitation. Is this heading for a confrontation, or do you believe if the Prime Minister invites M.K. Stalin, this can be resolved?
If the union government's policies function in the spirit of federalism, this can be resolved. If they continuously act authoritarian and try to put a diktat, and especially on those states where they're not able to make inroads because education levels are high, because development levels are high, this is going to go on. But I want to pose a question to you for a slight difference. How is it that states like us, who have limited ambition to language and get everybody to that level, or we say when we're going to lock down, we're going to lock down with 2 months or like few days notice, and we're going to do things right. States like us who have limited ambition and who succeed at achieving that ambition or nearly are considered not so successful. And then we have these grand ambitions, right? Free language, which has never been achieved anywhere, which has been tried for many, many decades. And then they fail spectacularly at it. They're not even able to get one language to the right level. The average education in Bihar is elementary school dropout. Here you're talking about free language as if free language is a proven formula. So here you have two questions. Is it that the center believes that just making grand ambitions which result in utter failure is the way to do politics? Or is it that they want to keep stirring the pot by keeping on putting some kind of attack onto those who are succeeding to detract from their own failure? What has been the state of India's economy? What has been the state of India's rankings in the global indices of transparency, on human development, of any measure? What has happened in the last 10, 12 years of this government? And yet they keep acting as if they're going to tell us the new secret to success.
But effectively, when I'm hearing you, I am seeing you again playing the politics of pitting, in a way, southern states and Tamil Nadu especially versus the Bimaru states. Is that healthy for the unity? No, you mentioned Bihar specifically. Is this healthy for the unity and integrity of the country? Shouldn't the country have a common education policy?
For the unity of this country, you know what is healthy for the unity of this country? That the country should focus on lifting the hundreds of millions of people in the northern belt, the so-called Hindi belt, to a level that is compatible to the south. That is the healthiest thing. As a patriot, I wish for that fervently. Instead of doing that, if you keep on attacking the South and trying to drag them down, what do you expect us to do? I say as the greatest patriot, my greatest concern, even more than whether Tamil Nadu children do much better, because they're already doing very well, is why are the children in the poorer states not doing well? How do we fix that? That's the main thing we want to work on.
Okay. I'm going to leave it there. PTR ko gussa kyon aata hai is what we've got a sense of. You're clearly angry at the moment, as is your state leadership. But I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining me on the show tonight. Thank you. Okay, we've heard from a PTR of the DMK. Let's go now to Tamilsai Soundarajan, a former governor of Telangana and also senior leader of the BJP in Tamil Nadu, for another perspective. Appreciate your joining us, ma'am. You may have heard P. Tyagarajan there attacking the centre, saying they are destroying the federal character of the country. This is a pathway to dictatorship, to impose a three-language formula. How do you respond? Are we seeing a growing divide once again between Delhi and Chennai, ma'am, because of this national education policy?
First of all, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Vanakkam. Namaste.
Namaste.
This three-language policy is Vanakkam. Three-language policy is necessary for the development. And PTR Palanivel Rajan, I know very well. He himself knows different languages. But federalism, what is federalism? Federalism is a good relationship between the center and the state to bring out good schemes to the people. But from the beginning, whatever may be the scheme, not only NEP, whether it is whatever the scheme, they deny the good fortune, good opportunity for the people to get the central schemes. For example, I am saying Vishwakarma scheme. Vishwakarma scheme, 8.5 lakh people applied for that, but they denied it. This John Aushodi shops, it's Prime Minister's shop, 10 years it is running and it is benefiting the poor people. But now they have changed it into CM shops.
So you're saying, you see, their argument, Tamilsai Soundarajan, they are claiming, let me quote what Dharmendra Pradhan said in the Lok Sabha yesterday. He said, DMK is dishonest. They are not committed to the students of Tamil Nadu. They are ruining the future of Tamil Nadu students. They are doing mischief. They are undemocratic and uncivilized. Is this the kind of words that should be used? This, according to many Tamil Nadu politicians, is showing the bias that the centre has towards Tamil Nadu, because Tamil Nadu doesn't vote for the BJP.
No, he did not have any intention of insulting the Tamils. He clearly mentioned about the activity and attitude of the Tamil Nadu member of parliaments.
But you're calling them uncivilized? He's calling them uncivilized. Do you share that? Do you believe that Kanimori or DMK leaders are uncivilized?
He took back. No, he took back the words. I am telling, not uncivilized, but twisting the words. It may be expressed in a different way, but it is true, no. They are behaving as if they are custodians of Tamil, but they are promoting English. They are not promoting the third language. All the private schools are teaching 3 languages. All the affluent school children are learning 3 languages. Why they deceive the government school children? Kanimoli is telling our language policy is only 2-language policy. Then I am asking one question. You are not including the private school children as Tamil children. You are not including the children who are studying in the CBSE school as Tamil population. So 2-language policy means 2-language policy for government school children and 3-language policy for private school children. When in the widened opportunity, the private school children will have more opportunity to get jobs in higher education.
Ma'am, the claim which is PTR made is that the state is not ready for a 3-language formula. A 3-language formula will require the kind of organization which does not exist on the ground in terms of teachers, in terms of preparing the education system for it. The 2-language formula, according to him, is working perfectly. Why do you need to impose a 3rd language? And the fear is that 3rd language will be Hindi.
So why they fear? Repeatedly, our Honorable Education Minister from the centre and the leaders of Tamil Nadu BJP clearly mentioned it is not imposition. But wantedly they are imposing the imposition. Wantedly they are doing it. They don't want the government children to get the education on par with the private school children. We are repeatedly asking all the ministers' children, all the ministers' grandchildren are learning Hindi, are learning 3 languages. Why they deny this opportunity to the government school children?
They say the government school system is not ready for it. They claim the government school system is not ready for a 3-language formula. They say even the North Indian states are unable to impose a 3-language formula. Why do you want to impose it or thrust it down on the South?
No, only state, their leader Annadurai said, when other states start following the 3-language policy, we also will follow, because they have to, the growth should be on par with other states. They cannot only, they falsely say they have not developed, they can, even Andhra Pradesh says, even Telangana, as Telangana governor I have seen, all of them learn 3 languages. It's a language, it's a linking languages. They don't want the government schools. Again and again, and we are asking, why don't you prepare the government schools for the children to learn the 3-language policy? Why there is discrimination between the private schools and the government schools?
How do you
private
respond?
Schools are even
you made that point. Tamil Sai Soundarajan, you made that point. The question is, could this not have been done with more consultation? The fear is all of this is being done by diktat. The charge which is being made is that the Modi government is behaving like autocrats, forcing the national education policy on states like Tamil Nadu, and that is not acceptable. Education is in the concurrent list. You've got to do it by consultation.
No, it is not force. If we know the history of NEP, how it got implemented, how it got the consultation from lakhs and lakhs of educationists, schools and the students and parents, after that only NEP was introduced. During that time, they did not deny any opportunity. They did not oppose it. Just like that, NEP was not introduced. It was introduced after a good time of consultation, consulting large number of people. After that only it was introduced. So how can they say it is not introduced? It is introduced without consultation. And another thing I am asking, one question. Why did they accept initially to sign an MOU for PM Shri without knowing they did all this? They did a U-turn, as our Honorable Pradhan is telling, because of political mileage. Because if PM Shri is introduced, if 3-language policy is introduced, the children will study well and the children will appreciate the central schemes. They don't want to, for that, politically, they want to deny the opportunity for government schools. Repeatedly we are asking, why that opportunity given to private school children, affluent school children, why it is denied for only the poor children? In the future opportunities, when the opportunities are open, in the open opportunity, when both is the government school child and the private school child goes for an interview, more opportunity will be given to the private school children.
Can I ask
why
you?
Is this discrimination?
Do you believe though that a majority of the Tamil people believe that this is an imposition or Hindi through the back door, as the DMK is claiming that the people of Tamil Nadu are against it? Do you believe that the people are against it or not, ma'am?
No, people are not against it. You would have seen in the media. I went to get the signature. The police surrounded me. 3 hours I was standing in the sun. But immediately when the police cleared, immediately people came forward in spite of the custody, in spite of the police enforcement. They came and they signed it. And even in our internet, we have opened a net consultation for the NEP, and in that, more than 5 lakh people have signed within 4 days. So online they are signing.
So you are willing to challenge the DMK. You're challenging the DMK when they say that the people of Tamil Nadu do not want the 3-language formula. You are claiming that the people want it, that Dharmendra Pradhan has done this through consultation and that it is not being imposed by Delhi. Am I correct?
Yeah, I am very sure because Hindi Prachar Sabha, more Tamil people are going and learning Hindi. So people want to learn Hindi. So they are telling a two-language policy helped them. But this is the challenging world. In the widened horizon, the world has become a village.
Right.
So the children should face more challenges in the future. To face the challenges, they have to learn more languages. And another thing, NEP is not only language, it is high-tech education. Why they are denying that high-tech education to the government school children?
आपकी हिंदी ठीक ठाक है तमिल सौंदरराजन, आपकी हिंदी अच्छी है कि नहीं? आपकी हिंदी अच्छी है कि नहीं?
अभी सीखती हो.
अच्छा, अभी सीखती हो. Okay.
अभी सीखती हो.
You're ready to learn it. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I appreciate you joining us and giving us the BJP's perspective there in Tamil Nadu. Thank you so much. Okay, the language war is not the only face-off at the moment in Indian politics. There's now a growing face-off over fake voter IDs with Bengal as the focus. A delegation of 10 Trinamool Congress members met the Election Commission today in the national capital and claimed that there were duplication of electoral photo identity card numbers taking place. The TMC has alleged manipulation of electoral rolls. Meanwhile, a BJP delegation led by Amit Malviya also met the poll body, and they too are accusing the Mamata Banerjee government here of including illegal infiltrators in Bengal's electoral list. Listen in.
लोकसभा और विधानसभा चुनाव के बीच में महाराष्ट्र के अंदर 40 लाख नए वोटर जोड़े गए. क्या इसकी संज्ञा इलेक्शन कमीशन को नहीं थी? डुप्लीकेट एपिक कार्ड तो है ही जिसमें 3-3-4 नंबर हैं, लेकिन आधार कार्ड के भी क्लोन किया जा रहा है और उसको क्लोन करके वोटर लिस्ट के ऊपर धड़ाधड़ नाम डाला जा रहा है. क्या यह वही खेल खेला जा रहा है जो महाराष्ट्र में 40 लाख वोटर 3 महीने में जोड़े गए?
We emphasized on the need for an audit and voter roll revision. We have apprised the Election Commission that there are 13 lakh 3,065 duplicate voters in Bengal where the name of the voter, relative's name and his age are the same. There are about 8,415 voters with similar epic numbers.
The face-off over epic numbers likely to become a big poll battle in Bengal. Let's turn to the US markets, which are still volatile. They got a beating, remember, on Monday, where there was a $4 trillion wipeout of the markets. Now the Dow Jones Industrial Average falling further on opening today after President Donald Trump imposed another 25% tariff on Canadian steel and aluminium. Yesterday, Wall Street marked its worst day since 2022. The S&P 500 plunging 2.7%, the Dow falling 890%, the sell-off being triggered by escalating fears over President Trump's aggressive tariff policies. Trump saying that the US economy was in a period of transition. Across the world, all markets have been in the red, and that really is the worry going ahead. Rhythm Desai, one of the country's leading analysts, managing director at Morgan Stanley India, joins me. Rhythm, we've seen a $4 trillion wipeout in the US markets, across the world, markets in the red. Is this the Donald Trump effect, or is there something more?
Thanks, Rajdeep. Good to be on your show. So actually, markets trade earnings. That's what they trade. And earnings in America started peaking in December. So it's just coinciding with a lot of uncertainty that has been produced by US policy. But the fact is that earnings started peaking in December. So things were turning a little less attractive in America. As you know, America has been on a roll, especially since the global financial crisis, has been the bellwether market for the world. But it does appear that the markets are now worried that the economy in the US will be slipping into recession. And, part of this is attributed to what President Trump is doing.
That R word, you mentioned recession. Donald Trump, when asked a question, said wasn't ruling it out. How real is that threat of a US recession? And if that happens, could we be then seeing a prolonged downturn and not just a short-term correction?
So it's not our base case that the US will slip into recession because remember, interest rates are still high in America. So the Fed has a lot of ammunition to react in the case growth slows down perceptibly in America. So there is room for them to reduce interest rates very quickly to counter such a slowdown. But yeah, there is a growing fear in the market, even though it's not our base case that we will get into recession this year.
But so are you more confident that this is basically a short-term correction? Are you more confident that 6 months from now things will be better, particularly from an Indian perspective? Is India, in a sense, could be a potential beneficiary?
Yeah, so two parts to that question, Rajdeep. I don't know about the US because, frankly, it depends on what eventual policies get rolled out with respect to tariffs, with respect to Dodge, and all the other things that are up for debate and are being done in the US. So that's a little imponderable. India, I think, is a little different. We have, and I dare say this, decoupled from the rest of the world over the past few years. We're not dependent so much on global capital flows as we used to be in the past. And to that extent, this hurts us a lot less. In fact, if you look at India's export performance and just strip out oil and oil products from it, we're actually doing quite okay. So India is gaining share in global exports, both services and goods, especially services. And the domestic economy that did go through a bit of a rough patch the second half of last year, particularly because of slowdown in government spending, is, I think, reversing quite nicely in this quarter. And you can see that in the GST collections. Growth rate in the fourth quarter of 2024, 8.3%. Year to date, it's already at 12%. So there is a recovery underway. It's led largely by a recovery in government spending and what I call as the policy pivot from RBI. So RBI seems now committed to get growth back, and that will help the domestic economy. So I think India is okay. We've had our own correction, actually, which happened before the US stocks started falling. And my own view is that a lot of that is already now done.
You seem to suggest the Indian economy has less to worry about, but the fact is foreign investors have been rapidly pulling out of their money out of Indian markets in the last few months. How much of that is driven by global risk aversion versus domestic economic factors? You seem a little bit more hopeful that the domestic economy will recover over the next 3 to 6 months.
No, there are three parts to that, Rajdeep. It's not just one factor. So clearly the slowdown in the domestic economy that happened second half of last year has unnerved foreign investors, and some of this outflow is relating to that. The second reason is that, remember, China put in a lot of stimulus in September last year, and the Chinese economy, and especially the stock market, started doing very well. So they started attracting more inflows. So that could have been another reason. The global situation right now is a little uncertain, so that also matters. But primarily, India has a very strong domestic investor base. And if you come into the stock market every single day, domestic investors are buying stocks. And in practice, there are only two players in the market. There are domestic investors and there are foreign investors. And if one cohort keeps buying stocks every day, the other cohort has to sell, otherwise you don't get a trade. So the only way foreign investors can start participating in the likely growth recovery that I'm talking about is that corporate issuers come to the table and say, okay, here we are, we got some fresh issuances, we'll give you some new shares, and that's how foreign investors can participate. Or domestic investors have to start giving up, which, Rajdeep, I don't think is happening. A lot of people suspected it will happen, but they withstood a very, very bad January and February and are still there in the market.
So at the end, net, don't worry, be cautious, but there is no need to panic. Am I correct?
I think you summarized it well. There's no need to panic. I think India is good. Of course, if there is a recession in the US, it will create pain. And we are part of the world. We are, amongst the top 5 economies in the world. So we can't remain totally unscathed. But I think we have our own factors at play. And a lot of investors abroad will recognize that with the passage of time and return to the Indian markets.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there, Rhythm Desai, for in a sense, giving a sense of comfort on what's been a rather turbulent 36 hours. Thank you very much for joining me there. Rhythm Desai of Morgan Stanley, appreciate you joining us on the show. I want to leave you, though, with a happy story. Sporty physical activities can be challenging often for people above the age of 60. I'm going to turn 60 in 3 months, as many would already be bothered by leg pain, joint aches, and limited physical strength. All problems that I have too. The awareness around healthy living and staying fit, though, is growing exponentially. And today I leave you with one such story, a weightlifter Dadi, Roshni Devi Sangwan, who started lifting weights at 68 despite being an arthritis patient. Now she's a professional power lifter and is training under her son and trainer, Chaudhry Ajay Sangwan. It's never too late to learn or to lift weights. You stay well, stay safe. Good night, Shubh Ratri. Jai Hind, Namaskar. Take a look.
Even at 70 years of age, Roshni Devi Sangwan pulls her weight, lifting 40 to 60 kilos with ease. She works out every day to keep her body fit.
उन्हें खूब अच्छे से समझाया, अब मैं थोड़ा सा अपने आप ही कर लेती हूँ। पहले बहुत शर्म आती थी कि भाई जिम में जाना, बेटा बोले जिम में इस उम्र में कौन जाता है, अच्छा नहीं लगता ना मुझको भाई। अब धीरे धीरे फिर भाई मैं स्टार्ट करा, तो बेटे ने भी बहुत साथ दिया कि आप किसी की ना सुनो, बस मेरे करनी देखो।
Roshni Devi got this passion for fitness from her son Ajay, who is a fitness trainer. He works out with her daily. But the start wasn't easy.
देखिए प्रॉब्लम शुरू हुआ था 2022 में, जब इनको नी आर्थराइटिस हो गया था। और नी आर्थराइटिस हो गया था तो फिर ये स्लिप मतलब फिसल के गिर गए थे बाथरूम में, तो इनको स्लिप डिस्क की प्रॉब्लम हो गया था पीछे बैक में। तो उन्होंने बताया इनको नी आर्थराइटिस है, प्लस में इनकी बोन डेंसिटी कम है, तो इनको फिजियोथेरेपी कराया इनिशियली, ताकि जैसे ही पेन खत्म हो मैं समझ गया सॉल्यूशन तो नहीं है। सॉल्यूशन क्या है, आपको वेट ट्रेनिंग करनी पड़ेगी।
Roshni Devi is an inspiration for other trainees.
कितना इंस्पायर कर रही है दादी आपको, पहले ये बताइए।
बहुत ज़्यादा, क्योंकि ना इस एज में कोई इंसान इतना वेट मारे 70 kg, और आजकल जो यूथ है ना पूरा मतलब बेकार हो चुका है। तो 4 बजे सोना और फिर जंक फूड खाना, और right now seeing her na like this or lifting this much at her weight at her age, sorry, so it's very a big thing for me.
मैंने बिल्कुल भी ऐसा नहीं देखा कि वो थक गए।
नहीं, ये काफ़ी ज़्यादा एक्सरसाइज करते हैं, इतना वेट उठाते हैं इस उम्र में। हमारी दादी की उम्र की है, और इसमें जब इतना वेट मार रहे हैं, अलग ही बात है।
Walking on the treadmill, Roshni Devi shares her diet plan, which is no limit on anything.
प्रोटीन थोड़ा ज़्यादा लेती हूँ और खाना नॉर्मली खाती हूँ। सत्संग में जाती हूँ प्रसाद परसों, तो ऐसा कोई नहीं है कि मैं ये चीज़ नहीं खाती, मीठा भी खा लेती हूँ, और समोसा वगैरह सब सत्संग में जाती हूँ तो सब प्रसाद सारी चीज़ खा लेती हूँ।
She has only one message to all.
देखो अपनी सेहत का ध्यान रखो, एक्सरसाइज करो, कसरत करो, अपनी सेहत का ध्यान रखोगा, कसरत करोगा तो अपनी सेहत बनी रहेगी।
With Manisha Ladda, Bureau Report, India Today.